very special day yesterday on Holiday Monday. A sixth sellout of the season. 45,000 got to watch David Price make his debut. It was exciting, and the Blue Jays are trying to build on that momentum tonight against the Twins. This is game 2 of this 4-game series. Minnesota managed just 1 run on 3 hits yesterday. Been a bit of a struggle for Paul Molitor's team of late. They've lost 11 of their last 15. Top of the order is the second baseman, and he's a good one, Brian Dozier. This season on the road, he's played 48 games. He's got 12 homers and 23 RBIs. He is truly a very good offensive second baseman. Joe Mauer did not play in the game yesterday. Today he's back in the lineup because he's put up good numbers against the starter, Marco Estrada.
Marco getting ready for a 17th start this season. He's pitched well. Opponents are hitting just .223 against him. That's the best among the Jays starters. He's 8-6 with a .353 earned run average. Strong outing last time out versus the Royals. Pitched into the 6th inning, 2 earned runs on just 3 base hits.
Big thing for Marco over his last 5 starts. He's kept the ball in the ballpark. He's allowed just 1 home run over those 5 starts. He is said he'll work with Deanna Navarro. This has been a good combination for the Blue Jays. Estrada is set. Here's the first pitch of the game. Dozier hacks at it, pops it into the seats out of play. The roof is closed. There are thunderstorms in the vicinity. So at the start of this ball game, we'll have the roof closed. Dozier, big numbers, 23 home runs. That ties his career high. There's that curveball, and Navarro wanted to get that pitch into the mix early tonight.
Yes, he did. I was talking to him earlier today, and he really feels like Marco Estrada's got a very good curveball, and I want to use it and complement that fastball and changeup.
1-2 now to Dozier. There's the high fastball. First strikeout of the night for Marco Estrada. Good sequence of pitches by Navarro there. Let's take a look at the defense behind Estrada in the outfield. Ben Revere, Kevin Pillar, and Jose Bautista across the diamond. Josh Donaldson and Troy Tulowitzki, Ryan Goins and Encarnacion. Good infield defense with the Blue Jays. Estrada and Navarro teaming up for the battery.
There's Edwin over at first base. His 51st start at first. John Gibbons wanted to keep Russell Martin's bat in the lineup, DH him with Navarro catching, so Edwin's going to play first base. Last time he started at first base, July 28th versus the Phillies.
This is Joe Mauer, the first baseman. He did not play in the game yesterday. There's a foul tip called by the home plate umpire, Tim Welke. That may have caught Navarro in an awkward spot. Looks like he's trying to get the feeling back in his thumb. And that's the situation. You can see him taking his hand out. He's got that thumb guard on his hand, and if you catch it on that glove, it'll torque your thumb, and watch how it rattles on there pretty good.
It looks innocent enough, but that hurts. That's why you wear that thumb guard, that padding. There's that curveball again. Again, he was very emphatic about how much he likes Marco Estrada's curveball. He says, I know he's got the great changeup. It's one of the best in the game, but I really think he's got a very good curveball, and we're going to use it.
Just another pitch that hitters have to think about. You can throw it for strikes, especially early. Word'll spread up and down that Twins bench. Hey, he's got a good hook tonight.
And that's just giving you something else to think about. We know he's got the good fastball and the great changeup. Now he's got a good curveball.
Fastball driven to left. Revere is back on the track. He makes the catch. 2 up, 2 down.
Well, you mentioned it, Buck, that home runs, he hasn't been giving up the home runs like he did when he was with Milwaukee last season as a starter in 2014. Almost 2.5 home runs per 9 innings. This year he has shaved that in half, under 1 as a starter.
Last year he gave up 29 home runs pitching for the Brewers. That led the National League in home runs allowed. Trevor Poof takes a strike. Poof played first base yesterday, finished up 1 for 4 with a double. He's the one that started that Twins rally in the 4th against David Price. He had a leadoff double. What's wrong with that one? Ball on a strike. Price then walked Sano and Hunter to load the bases with nobody out, and that's when the game got interesting. He got a pop-up, a couple of strikeouts to strand the bases loaded.
That's when the game was over. After he walked off the mound after that one, you just knew that Minnesota was not going to score after he got out of that bases loaded, no out jam.
Price, 8 spectacular innings. Struck out 11. 1-2. They always talk about hitting being contagious. I'm a firm believer that so is pitching.
I'm right with you. Don't want to be outdone by the guy before you.
Popped into the seats. Of course, David Price has set the bar very high, and I think that's what everybody wants. They want to be challenged, and they want to meet that challenge.
He retired the last 15 in a row, and then LaTroy Hawkins came in and got 3 outs in a row himself.
Pretty good fastball away. Navarro takes a lot of pride in the way he has handled Marco Estrada. Of course, he's improved his fortunes over last year, as you mentioned.
Yeah, he says, I feel like I'm a good game caller, and we all do.
Changeup. 2 hopper to third. Donaldson has it in time. Marco Estrada, 3 up, 3 down in the first. Took him just 16 pitches to retire the side in order. Troy Tulowitzki, top of the order. And then Josh Donaldson right behind him. Donaldson against the Twins this season, 6 for 18. 3 of those 6 hits have left the ballpark. And Edwin Encarnacion's got good numbers against the Twins starter Phil Hughes. He's 14 for 40 with 5 extra base hits and 6 RBIs.
That is a lineup that Phil Hughes will face tonight. Hughes comes in here a very hot pitcher. He hasn't lost since June the 8th. He's had 6 straight wins and 3 no decisions. He picked up his 10th win of the season in his last start. He did give up 5 runs in 5 innings to the Mariners. It's a tough matchup for Hughes. He's allowed 25 home runs this season in his 21 starts, and in his career versus the Blue Jays, 29 games, 22 starts. Jays have hit 15 home runs, and he has worked 6 or more innings in only 4 of his 10 career starts here at Rogers Center.
Only Kyle Kendrick of the Colorado Rockies has given up more home runs than Phil Hughes in all the major leagues. Hughes has given up those 25 homers. Tulowitzki, it's a 1 hopper to third. Poof has it. 1 pitch, 1 out for Hughes. Phil Hughes will put the ball in play. He's coming at you. You're going to get a lot of pitches to hit with that. The defense becomes important. Eddie Rosario is in left. Aaron Hicks in center, and the veteran Torrey Hunter, 9-time Gold Glover, is in right. Trevor Plouffe started at first yesterday. He's back at third base. Nunez and Dozier up the middle. Joe Mauer at first, and the catcher is Kurt Suzuki.
Mauer back at first base after a day off yesterday. He moved to first base at the start of last season. You know, he was the opening day catcher for the Minnesota Twins for 9 straight seasons until last year.
Josh Donaldson, we mentioned his good season against the Twins. He also has a 21-game hit streak against the Twins. He has hit in all but 2 games he has played against Minnesota. In fact, he had 1 at bat in his first game, went 0 for 3 in his second game, and he had hit in every other game he's played in. 21 straight for Donaldson. Curveball into there. That's something Hughes is doing a little more frequently, throwing that hook.
Throw the curveball a little bit more, sometimes early in the count, sometimes late, and it doesn't matter for Josh Donaldson where he hits his home runs. You can see it's pretty well spread out. He doesn't have to pull the ball to knock it out of the ballpark.
11, 9, and 7 from left to right for Donaldson. This has been a very good fit for him, this ballpark here at Rogers Center. He's hit 18 home runs and driven in 46 here this season. Why has he improved so much hitting here at home as opposed to Oakland last year, his home ballpark?
I don't think anybody wants to hit in Oakland. You want to pitch when you're in Oakland. You don't want to hit there because it's so big and there's so much foul territory. The ball doesn't carry at all. I think everybody in baseball knew when Josh Donaldson came to the Blue Jays and hitting here at Rogers Center, he's going to put up some pretty big numbers.
2-2 pitch. And deep, and this one is way back. Number 28 for Donaldson. 22 straight games against the Twins.
You know, that's how you do it, with authority right there in the first inning. That's a big home run in yesterday's game to give the Blue Jays the 3-1 lead in the 5th inning, and he doesn't waste any time tonight.
That's the 15th first inning home run that Phil Hughes has given up. And this is a dangerous lineup in the first inning. Tulowitzki, Donaldson, and now Bautista.
They threw him 3 straight cutters after he jumped ahead trying to figure that out. And Phil Hughes missed his spot, and Josh Donaldson made him pay for it. I was kind of shocked that he went back to that cutter another time. Look at this, one more time. That's 3 in a row that he threw to Donaldson, and it's right where he likes it.
To me, the cutter is the most overused pitch in baseball. It takes velocity away from your fastball, then there are very few people that can master it. Because Mariano Rivera had so much success with it, everybody thinks they could throw it with that type of success. It doesn't happen. It becomes a very mediocre fastball.
Well, he only threw 1 inning at a time. It's tough for a starter. I think a cutter is a good pitch, but you can't overuse it.
Edwin Encarnacion. There's that curveball, but until he throws it for a strike, it's a non-factor. Josh Donaldson, one off his career high with 28 home runs. Looks like he's not happy with his uniform for some reason. There's a better curveball from Hughes. That's a new wrinkle he's added recently.
Yeah, he's been throwing a lot of fastballs and cutters over the last couple of years, but I think he's starting to realize that the curveball is a good pitch for him early in the count and late in the count.
3 in a row. Hughes has won 6 straight decisions. For the season, he is 10-6 with a .411 earned run average. That home run he allowed now ties him with Kyle Kendrick at 26 home runs allowed, most in the majors. Little changeup. He continues to mix his pitches effectively.
Yeah, he only throws that about 3% of the time, so just a new wrinkle to give Edwin something else to think about.
Russell Martin is on deck. Another ground ball, another two-hopper to Plouffe. Hughes is out of the first, but Josh Donaldson jumps on him early. Donaldson with his 28th home run, his 78th RBI of the season, has given the Blue Jays a 1-0 lead in the first.
His best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Rogers Center. It is a Blue Jays lead thanks to that man right there, Josh Donaldson. He had a home run in the bottom of the first, his 28th of the season. Marco Estrada retired the side in order in the first. This is the big DH, Miguel Sano. Sano was 0 for 3 in the game yesterday. Hitting in the cleanup spot. He's just 22 years old. Change up. Little looper to Tulowitzki. We mentioned Estrada has been on a roll. He's really pitched well here at Rogers Center over his last 5 starts. The starts include Miami, Baltimore, Boston, Tampa Bay, and Kansas City. And his numbers are very impressive, Pat.
And those are some pretty good offensive teams. You talk about Baltimore and Kansas City included in those starts. Boston, Detroit. He has pitched well.
Estrada pounding that strike zone early. Jumps ahead of Torrey Hunter.
You know, you can see him early in the game. We saw that at Seattle. He just didn't have his feel for his breaking ball. Tonight, it looks like he's got the feel for all 3 of them.
Well, you can see the difference in his follow-through, how he was driving toward home plate. He was really falling off toward the first base foul line in his last start. We hear it all the time from pitchers like Bert Blyleven, and even Hall of Famers talk about how rare it is to go to the mound and have everything working for you. You've got to battle through those innings where you're out of sync and you don't have your good command, and Marco seems to be off to a good start tonight. High fastball, he hit his target that time. Hunter strikes out.
Yeah, I asked Bert Blyleven one time, I mean, he was going into the Hall of Fame, and I said, okay, if you made 32, 33 starts a year, how many times did you have your A stuff? And he said 3 to 4 times. That start in Seattle, you can see Marco's not falling off 2 or 3 steps towards first base. A couple of starts ago in Seattle, he was doing that. He was walking batters, something that he hasn't done a lot of this year. Tonight, it looks really looks like he's driving that ball towards home.
First pitch changeup, good mix by Navarro. Eddie Rosario, the left fielder. Rosario's a rookie, batting .280. Done a nice job in his first season. You know you got a good changeup when you can change up on the changeup.
Throw another one right here. I mean, really get in the head of Rosario.
Three in a row. Changeup is lifted into center. Plenty of room for Pilar. 6 up, 6 down for Marco Estrada. Just 9 pitches in the second.
Role in Sunday's altercation with the Kansas City Royals. Now, General Manager Alex Anthopoulos met with the media earlier today to inform us that Sanchez has indeed filed an appeal. As for the timing of the hearing, that is out of their control. It all depends on how many hearings the league has to get to and the availability of those presiding over Aaron's case. Best case scenario with the team heading to New York this weekend, hearing on Friday, decision on Monday. That would mean Sanchez pitches in New York and sits out in Oakland. But Buck, it is wait and see. Back to you.
Well, it sure is, Hazel, and that's a roll of the dice in my mind. I think you could go into the commissioner's office, you could have your hearing, and Major League Baseball would then listen to you. Joe Torre is probably the gentleman that's going to hear Aaron's plea for reduction in a 3-game suspension. Then you might get a decision that night, and once you appeal, you have to serve the suspension immediately when the decision is rendered. So there is the possibility that decision could come down Friday afternoon and he would be suspended immediately.
Well, the whole thing that they're guarding against is Aaron's got to pitch in New York against the Yankees because those games are huge. So if he misses a couple of games here with the bullpen well rested, and Aaron has worked a lot lately, you could see him just accepting the suspension in this series, or hope that you go to New York like they were saying and hear it and hope that they make it next week sometime, make the decision next week.
There's a changeup from Hughes, and he strikes out Russell Martin. That's the first out of the second. You know, I think you're putting an awful lot of stock into hope.
Yeah.
You know, and you and I know this. How many years have we gone to New York, and it seems like everything is stacked against you once you get into that ballpark. And yeah, I think if you serve this suspension here, then you have no doubts that he would be available. And I can understand Aaron's point. I don't agree with the suspension one bit.
Yeah, that's number one.
And the Kansas City got nothing. Come on.
But I thought 3 was a little excessive.
Yeah, for sure.
For that.
Well, I think the one thing that we both know is that when Aaron came into the game, Jim Wolf said there's a warning in place. Aaron said, listen, my ball really runs a lot, and I miss to the arm side a lot. And Wolf said, don't worry, I got you. DeMar Hale said the same thing to Wolf once he came to the mound. He said, hey, the kid misses a lot inside. He goes, I'm aware of that. I got you covered. So that's been documented, and that's interesting. This is a pop into center field. Aaron Hicks coming in. Navarro is retired on the pop out.
You know, grazing his knee like that, like he did the other day, for me that didn't look like he was trying to hit anybody.
No.
The ball just got away from him. Too low. His ball runs like that.
Yeah, it's really too bad, and it's unfortunate that all of the decisions went against the Blue Jays. Ryan Goins, he had a good game yesterday. How about home run number 3? And he added another hit. He was 2 for 4 overall.
He's looking a lot more comfortable, I think, at the plate right now. He's made a couple of changes, and he's getting some playing time. He put a charge into that ball yesterday that he hit for a home run.
It tied the game up in the bottom of the second after Torrey Hunter had hit a home run off of Price. Made it a 1-1 game. Numbers are pretty good over his last 6 games. Goins is 3 for 6 against Phil Hughes. Fastball missed inside off the plate. It's 3-0. Kevin Pillar waits on deck.
He's not real happy with that ball. This guy never walks anybody. I mean, he very rarely gives up a base on ball. He's only given up 12 walks all season.
Goins should get a fastball right here, and that should serve him well.
Try and hit it like you did yesterday.
Up out over the plate. That's not what he was looking for, and I don't think that's where Hughes wanted it. Suzuki looked like he was set up inside. Two-out walk. Goins will take first. Well, you mentioned Phil Hughes. He's a strike thrower, has been. Made his debut against the Blue Jays. And walks per 9. You see, he is under a walk per 9 innings. Michael Pineda, the Yankees, and then Mark Burley of the Blue Jays. They're stingy. They don't give up many free passes.
Yeah, so be ready to swing again. That was just his 13th walk of the season. Last year, in 209 2/3 innings, he only had 16 base on balls. In fact, he went 106 plate appearances at one time last year between base on balls.
Kevin Pillar comes back from an inside fastball. Hughes made his major league debut against the Blue Jays April 26, 2007. He started against the Jays at Yankee Stadium. His mound opponent, A.J. Burnett. There's a strike. Hughes was a #1 pick of the Yankees in 2004. They drafted him out of Foothill High School in Santa Ana, California.
I like it how he just attacks. He's like, here it is. You got to hit your way on.
Hughes got off to a pretty good start. In his second start, he was throwing a no-hitter into the 7th against Texas and then pulled a hamstring. Had to come out of the game and missed about 6 weeks. Lifted in the air to left. Rosario comes in a few steps. He is there. The inning is over. The Blue Jays get a 2-out walk and nothing more. We'll head to the 3rd. The Jays with an early lead.
That brought David Price and Troy Tulowitzki to Toronto. Get the insider's insight, plus coverage of David Price's dominating debut. Starting this Thursday, Rogers and Shaw Sportsnet 1 customers can download for free. Visit sportsnet.ca/magazine for details.
David Price and R.A. Dickey are represented by the same agent, and that's interesting. Will McKinnis, one of the highly regarded agents in the business. Of course, that's going to be a topic all throughout the next 2 months into the offseason. This is Aaron Hicks, a switch hitter. In the 7th spot, it'll be Hicks, Kurt Suzuki, and Eduardo Nunez for the Twins. Minnesota has really struggled offensively. They've scored 6 runs in their last 4 games and 9 runs in losing 5 of their last 6 road games. It's been a real struggle. Pat, why is Navarro so much committed to his signals? He's really aggressive in the way he gives those signs to Estrada.
Well, he was saying earlier today, he says, I have to show conviction in my signs because a lot of times I go with my heart than with my head. And what he means by that is he's reading bats, he's reading the team, he's in the moment, I guess. And in his heart, he knows that a changeup is right in this situation. He said, if I go with my head and I don't have the conviction in my heart, 90% of the times it's going to be a base hit. At least it seems like that. He's a good game caller, and he has really worked well with Marco Estrada. Marco told me, he said, DeHonor is so far ahead of me when it comes to calling the games. He's 3-4 pitches ahead of where I'm thinking.
2-2. Ground ball. Tulowitzki throws on the run, right on the money.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
1 out. When a pitcher has total confidence in his catcher's game calling, then all he has to think about is executing that pitch. Drops that curveball in there. That's been a good pitch for him early on.
Was there ever a time where you weren't real sure what you were going to put down and you kind of did that? You know, one of those like, maybe a fastball? I think that's what DeHonor's talking about.
Oh, absolutely. And you'll see catchers all the time go 1, 2, no, maybe 3. But when DeHonor gives a sign, it's with conviction, and that really puts Estrada at ease. No hesitation. There it is. Throw it.
Cutter off the plate right there. The worst thing I think a catcher could do is show some doubt in what you're doing behind the plate, because then the confidence of the pitcher is going to go right out the window.
Yeah, he clears his mind, checks where the batter is, and then says, okay, this will work. No hesitation. Suzuki, the batter, pops it up. Encarnacion will go over toward the seats, but it's out of play.
And I really like how DeHonor has really started incorporating the fastball just a little bit more with Marco, especially the high fastball. I asked him about that, and he said it plays with his curveball. If you start throwing that curveball up here and the fastball up here, it just makes it so much better. High fastball and then the curveball. You know, as a hitter, if you've got a pitcher who is throwing a changeup, where's it going to be? It's going to be down. Everything is down. Curveball's going to be down. Changeup's going to be down. You got to like stand that guy up with a fastball at times, and that's something that DeHonor has started to do a little bit more with Marco, and we're seeing the results.
It's interesting that Suzuki played at Cal State Fullerton. Estrada played a year later at Long Beach State, two of the biggest rivals in college baseball. And they were always involved in great rivalries, and Suzuki played with the Blue Jays' Ricky Romero. Justin Turner was also on that team, Cal State Fullerton. This ball is hit to center. Pilar backpedaling in front of the warning track. 8 straight retired by Marco Estrada to start this game.
That's where you want to keep it if you give up fly balls. And Marco gives up his share of fly balls just because of the type of pitcher he is. But he's been working so much better. He's allowed 2 runs or fewer in all but one of his last 8 starts. I mean, that's pitching. His ERA over that time, 2.6. I mean, he doesn't have to throw 95 to get guys out.
This is the number 9 hitter, Pintuado Nunez. Got to be kind of settling for Estrada as well to have Troy Tulowitzki at shortstop. They played college ball together. Change up off the end of the bat. And Estrada was telling us we haven't really seen Troy Tulowitzki just yet. He said he's just kind of feeling his way here as he's settling in with his new ball club. I don't know if we've seen the real Troy Tulowitzki yet, but I like what we've seen so far.
If there's more, I'm going to be really astounded, because what I've seen has been pretty spectacular. The play up the middle yesterday, the short fly ball with the bases loaded.
High fastball lifted to right. Bautista is there. Marco Estrada has retired the first 9 he's faced here tonight.
At 1:07 p.m. Join us pregame outside Gate 10 for inflatables, activities, and lots of fun. After the game, kids 14 and under can run the bases just like the pros. For more information, call 416-341-1234 or visit BlueJays.com. Buck.
Thank you very much, Hazel. Junior Jay Saturday is always very popular. Good crowds on hand. This is Ben Revere, off to a little bit of a slow start in his Blue Jay career. He is 0 for 10 as a Jay, 0 for his last 13 overall. Ground ball. Dozier to his left, gobbles it up, 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Henry Owens, a highly touted left-hander. He's 6'6", but he's not a hard thrower. He's more of a finesse pitcher. He's making his debut. He's up against Masahiro Tanaka. So that suggests the Blue Jays will more than likely see Tanaka on Sunday in New York. David Price will pitch Saturday, so you think that that's probably going to be the way it shakes out. Blue Jays can ill afford to look ahead to the Yankees series. They got to take care of business at hand.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that you can do is start thinking about what's happening at the weekend, and then you lose a series here at home. You got to worry about today.
Troy Tulowitzki. Shortstop grounded out to third his first time up. There's only been one hit in the ball game so far. That was the Donaldson home run. Now there's 2 hits. How about the Tulowitzki home run? Home run number 14 for Troy Tulowitzki. What a top of the order.
That'll make him feel a little bit more comfortable with his new surroundings right there. I see a lot of little kids down on the field before the ball game, and I ask them who their favorite Blue Jay is, and I got a lot of Troy Tulowitzkis from the kids. They like what they see from this young man. That was a laser to left field.
Here is Donaldson. He got it going with his homer in the first. Another look at the Tulowitzki swing.
Watch how quickly he gets to this inside pitch. No wasted motion. Just hands and bat to the baseball.
Donaldson fouls off the hook. Everybody was poo-pooing the idea of putting Tulowitzki in the leadoff spot. I'll send him up there as many times as I can get him up there.
John Gibbons was talking about that today. He says, I really like the idea of having him hit first. He's going to get his share of RBIs with guys on base. But you get those extra at-bats every game, it seems like. I want that guy hitting right there.
Josh Donaldson's home run in the first went over 450 feet into the second deck and left. It's the third home run that he has hit over 450 this season. Giancarlo Stanton of the Miami Marlins, he's on the disabled list, but he's got 7 such home runs. And then Jock Peterson of the Dodgers has 5. Donaldson and A-Rod are tied with 3.
How about A-Rod with 3 of those 450-plus foot home runs this season?
Phil Hughes now has taken over the lead in the category you don't want to lead in. Home runs allowed, 27 for this season. That leads the majors. Curveball, he waited back, hits the grounder to short. 2 down. The Blue Jays have a 2-0 lead. 2 more home runs tonight. Troy Tulowitzki getting into the act. He had a home run in his first game as a Blue Jay. Donaldson now just one off his career high. He hit 29 last year for Oakland. We got almost 2 months of baseball left.
Yeah, a lot of power up and down this lineup.
Jose Bautista grounded out to short back in the first.
Phil Hughes has a pretty good curveball, if you ask me.
It's good enough to use.
Yeah, he's got to use it with his fastball and cutter.
His changeup has been decent tonight as well.
They're hitting 250 off the changeup, 226 against the curveball. Mixing it in just a little bit more. Here's the 2 players responsible for the 2 runs for the Blue Jays tonight.
This group of new players that have come in this last week seem to have fit like a glove. Sunday's bench clearing incident has a sense of bonding together. Wow, look out, officer.
He didn't know where to go.
You need more than that bulletproof vest. That's a dangerous position down there.
Those balls that come hooking at you, you think you got to go left and then you got to go right. That ball's moving and it gets to you quickly.
We saw Jim Joyce hit by a liner umpiring third base out in Seattle. Bautista pops it out of play. There's a high curveball, and Hughes is out of the third. Bautista strikes out. Troy Tulowitzki, his 14th home run of the season. His career home run 190 for the Blue Jays shortstop, and it puts the Jays up 2-0. A long homer to the second deck and left.
Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome back to Toronto. Troy Tulowitzki with his 14th home run of the season has taken the Blue Jays to a 2-0 lead. Donaldson homered in the first, Tulowitzki in the third. And Marco Estrada, he's doing his share. He's retired the first 9 to bat here tonight. This is Ryan Dozier. And if you go back to yesterday's game, the last Twin to reach base was Torrey Hunter, who walked to load the bases in the fourth. The Blue Jays have since pitched a perfect game. 27 up, 27 down.
You always wanted to call a perfect game.
Always.
It just took you two days.
But the Twins have really been scuffling. They had a run on 3 hits yesterday, and they've not had a base runner so far tonight. 0-2. That hit Estrada. Goins is not going to have a play, and that will snap that streak of 27 Twins retired, as Dozier will get an infield hit. If that ball gets past Estrada, Goins is positioned perfectly to make the play at second.
Standing right behind him. It looked like a fastball away. And Dozier gets enough of that. It was a high fastball away. It looked like it clipped Marco. You can see Goins at second base. He's going to catch that ball. But once it is off the foot or the shoe of Estrada, lands in no place where Goins can make the play. So the first base runner tonight for the Twins.
So now the first baseman Joe Mauer will bat. Mauer flied out to left field his first time up. Ball is down. You could hear the home umpire Tim Welke call it down. It was a changeup to start the at bat. Comes back with a fastball, and Estrada may have gotten the call there. Joe Mauer has hit one career home run in 54 games against the Blue Jays. Pops this one back for the season. Mauer has 6 home runs. A terrific hitter. And when you have him behind the plate, his numbers are very impressive. But now you put him at first base, he doesn't have the kind of power you'd like to see from your first baseman.
Yeah, if you want to have a 25 home run guy, I think Joe Mauer has a possibility of hitting 25 home runs. He's got that talent, but he's such a great hitter.
And Estrada strikes him out with that high fastball. Mauer's 0 for 2, 3 strikeouts for Estrada.
I think Joe would be, more interested to get that batting average up there. He's won a batting title. This time he's going to come up empty on that high fastball. And he's not going to change who he is this late in his career. He's a good hitter. He's going to use the whole field. And if you don't get the power that you normally get as a first baseman, so be it.
This is Trevor Plouffe. He grounded out to third his first time up. He's looking for the fastball and got the changeup.
Hold the string on him that time. It's hard to get a double play with Marco Estrada on the mound because he gives up so many fly balls. This would be the perfect candidate right here, I think, to get that double play if you can get it on the ground.
Plouffe has grounded into 21 double plays this season. Pulled that one outside off the plate. Paul Molitor, the former Blue Jay, a terrific ball player in his playing days, played so well he made his way into the Hall of Fame. This is his first season as the manager.
Jack Moore's had a lot of praise for Molly yesterday, didn't he?
He sure did. He said that Paul Molitor came in with a plan and he hasn't deviated. They got up to a 1-6 start and never lost his focus, never lost his direction, and the team bounced back and they played well.
And the best thing that you can be as a manager through good times and through bad times is the same guy. Just be the same guy, and that's what he was basically saying. He hasn't gotten too excited when they were winning, and he hasn't gotten too low when they're losing now.
Molitor went into the Hall of Fame in 2004. He's one of just 6 players in Major League history with 3,000 hits and 500 stolen bases. He grew up in Minnesota, grew up in St. Paul. Went to Creighton High School in St. Paul, same high school that Joe Mauer went to, and then Molitor played University of Minnesota. 2-1, 1 out. Downstairs. Well, this is a traditional fastball count, but Estrada is anything but traditional.
He's liable to throw another changeup right here, or he might even mess up loose and try a fastball. They might even start the runner over there just to try and get something going with this offense. They've been struggling so much to score runs.
Not running. Ball 4. So that'll push Dozier to second. Trevor Plouffe takes the walk. Twins with a walk in. A base hit this inning off of Estrada after Estrada retired 9 straight to start the game. You can see him point towards second base, just a silent message. Hey, going to use a different series of signs now with a runner at second. Miguel Sano, he's got some power. 4 home runs for Sano.
He was one of their big prospects who missed all of last season with Tommy John surgery on his arms. He's a natural third baseman. We have seen him in this series as the designated hitter.
There's a good fastball for strike 1-1. Estrada, we mentioned his great run at home over his last 5 starts. He's got a 4-1 record. Opponent's hitting just 163 coming into this game while he's pitching here at Rogers Center. Pulled that one outside again, losing that strike zone a bit. Sano began the season in Double-A Chattanooga and hit 15 home runs in Tennessee. Comes back with that good fastball.
Sano thought that ball was up and out of the plate. Ever since he got hit on that foot, he's lost his command just a little bit. Have you noticed that?
It seems to be pulling everything outside. One out. Blue Jays have a 2-0 lead. We're in the top of the 4th. Couple of solo home runs for the Jays. Donaldson and Tulowitzki. He has lost that outside corner for sure. Earlier he was really painting that pitch on the outside, whether it was with the cutter or the fastball.
And we can only speculate that it might be after Dozier hit him with that ball. It might have been on that landing foot. But he was sharp early on in this inning. He's not.
Yeah, and it seemed to be after that ball hit him on the foot, that comebacker off the bat of Dozier. He bounced back and was able to strike out Mauer, but now he has walked back-to-back hitters, and that's going to get him a visit from his catcher, Diana Navarro. This is the same situation the Twins had yesterday afternoon in the 4th inning. They had a base hit, a couple of walks yesterday. Here they had a base hit, a strikeout, and a couple of walks, so the bases are loaded for Torrey Hunter with 1 out. Dozier got the single. Plouffe walked, and Sano as well. He too walked. The veteran Torrey Hunter drives this one high and deep to right. Bautista looking up on the track at the wall. He makes the catch. Dozier tags at third. Plouffe moves to third. Torrey Hunter just missed it, but he drives in a run with a sacrifice fly to right. That's the first run for the Twins since the 2nd inning yesterday afternoon. So now there are runners at the corners and 2 outs. Eddie Rosario's a good hitter. He flied out to center to end the 2nd.
Got him with 3 straight changeups that first time up. So what does Marco do? Throw him a fastball on the first pitch, and he takes it right down the middle.
Been a long inning for Estrada. This will be his 22nd pitch of the inning. Going upstairs again. Boy, you make a great point, Pat, because they retired Rosario on changeups, and now they've got to mix it up a bit.
A couple of fastballs now. Let's see if he throws him the changeup here.
Another fastball, and he was late. Still got that first at bat in his mind.
That's the whole idea. The whole idea that first time up when you threw him 3 straight changeups and he flies out to center field, he didn't show him the breaking ball. He didn't show him the fastball. He didn't show him his cutter. But he sure put changeup in his mind.
1-2, 2 outs. Another fastball. I like this with 2 strikes especially. First of all, because you threw a lot of changeups to Rosario in the first, and with 2 strikes, all hitters are going to cut down their swing. So their timing's a little bit better on the off-speed pitch. They saved the curveball for the last pitch of the at-bat. Boy, he threw a good one. Rosario caught looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning. Torrey Hunter with a sac fly has cut the lead in half. Blue Jays riding a couple of solo home runs. Donaldson hit his 28th in the first. Tulowitzki his 14th in the third. Home runs the difference in this ball game.
Depth sports analysis, fan favorite classics, and must-see guests. Catch them weeknights right here on Sportsnet or connect online 24/7 at Tim and Sid. Buck.
Thank you very much, Hazel. Edward Encarnacion takes a first pitch strike. Blue Jays have a 2-1 lead as they bat in the 4th. Encarnacion grounded out the 3rd, his first time up. He's pulled that way off the plate outside. Phil Hughes coming into this game 6-7 for his career against the Blue Jays. Enters with a 469 earned run average. This is his 23rd start against the Jays.
They saw him as a starter when he was with New York. They also saw him as a reliever when he was with the Yankees, and a darn good one too.
That's when they were moving guys back and forth. Remember, they tried it with Jabba Chamberlain. They called up Chamberlain as a reliever, then moved him into the rotation. They developed the Jabba rules. Well, Phil Hughes became a pretty good setup man using that fastball, and probably had a tick or 2 higher velocity on his heater at that time.
Yeah, he only had to throw 1 inning. He had a boatload of strikeouts as a setup man back in the day. But he wanted to start. He signed the big contract with the Minnesota Twins, and he's done pretty well.
He was an all-star for the Yankees in 2010 as a starter. He went 18-8. He is signed through 2019 with Minnesota. Encarnacion walks.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Leadoff man's aboard with the base on balls. This is Russell Martin. He was a strikeout victim in the second. First pitch strike. Martin and Hughes would have been teammates with the Yankees. Of course, Russell Martin spent a couple of years in New York catching for the Yankees.
So he should know what he features.
There's a ball driven deep to right. Corey Hunter on the run. That's going to slice into the seats, out of play. Well, he does know him, but a couple of years ago he was primarily fastball, occasional cutter, but now he's using the curveball and the changeup. 15 home runs for Russell.
Just a little bit more, trying to even out those splits a little bit. It's almost like he wants to pitch just a little bit more with that breaking ball. Like I say, he's got a pretty good one.
Ball gets away from Suzuki. That looked like it went right between his legs. And that'll allow Encarnacion to move into scoring position.
It's a changeup that bounced in front of Suzuki, and he just couldn't get down fast enough. Change down. He just comes up on it.
Yeah, he flinched before he went down, and when he did that, he elevated his body and created a hole. 1-2. Changeup. Boy, if you try to catch those balls in the dirt, you're going to have your hands kind of reach up and create a hole, and you'll never have much success.
Just block them, right?
Just block them. Don't try to catch them. 2-2 to Martin. Curveball. Full count, nobody out. Blue Jays trying to get that run back. Torrey Hunter has driven in both of the Twins' runs in this series. Had a home run off of Price, had a sac fly off of his stride. Don't let the veteran beat you. Full count, nobody out. Russell pulls it to third. Deep throw for Plouffe. Encarnacion's going to advance. Oh, good job by Edwin. He saw that ball was taking Plouffe deep at third, and it was going to be a long throw, so he just inched off second. When he turned it loose, Edwin advanced.
And Plouffe was going to bounce the ball over to first base right there, so you can do that. Edwin's a very intelligent base runner, very astute. He knows that third base is going to be unoccupied here on this long throw, and they bounce it across there, and he can just jog into third base. It's heads-up base running right there.
And you know what? Russell Martin appreciates that because it's a productive out, even though he pulled it to the left side.
So does the guy hitting right now with the infield in.
Yonder Navarro. So Martin's out 5-3, and Encarnacion's now at third. The infield has to come in and try to cut off the run at the plate. Navarro drove a ball to center back in the second. If he does the same here, it'll lead to a run more than likely. Blue Jays have been great cashing in these runners from third, less than 2 outs. Fastball on the corner. The Jays have 40 sacrifice flies. That's the most in the American League, and that's just a mindset. You go up there thinking, I got to get a ball up, something I can drive to the outfield and cash in this run.
And they practice it every single day in batting practice. Man on third base, less than 2 outs, infield in. They'll also practice runner on third base, less than 2 outs, infield back, where you just try and keep the ball in the middle of the diamond. It's discipline. It's understanding the game of baseball and then being able to go out there and act on it.
2-1 to Navarro. Got the pitch up, but fouled it back. Giannis, for his career, has been a pretty good clutch hitter. He had his season interrupted early this year with a pulled hamstring. His numbers are down compared to his career average with these situations. Big strikeout for Hughes as he gets Navarro. That's his third strikeout. Comes at a good time for the Twins.
Looked like it might have been the cutter right there from Hughes. He doesn't strike out a lot of batters, but this is a very big one right here. And you see that cut action on that fastball. It gets right underneath the bat of Navarro. So now they'll take a 2-out hit by Goins.
Brian Goins walked in the second. Has a good cut on that first pitch. Missed outside. Hughes was trying to come inside and threw it all the way across the plate. Ball and a strike to Goins. 2 outs. We're in the bottom of the 4th. Blue Jays trying to build from their momentum of yesterday's great win to open up this series, and from the winning series against Kansas City. Goins bunts it up the third base line. It's a beauty. Encarnacion once again with a heads-up play. If he runs down the line, he's going to be easy pickings for Plouffe. Plouffe was ahead of him, and that ball was going to stay fair. And Edwin recognized right off the bat, if I run, I'm going to be out.
Watch Plouffe recognize that Goins gets around on that ball on the bunt, and you're right. He's so far ahead of him. And how many times have we seen this? That ball bunted and just dies on the carpet right there. They weren't going to get Goins at first base. They certainly had a shot at Encarnacion at the plate.
Terrific bunt by Goins. Now Pilar. Isn't it interesting how everything has become much clearer for the Blue Jays? Paying attention, base running, paying attention to little things, having tough at bats, grinding out at bats, making good pitches.
Everybody's locked in, aren't they?
Every at bat seems to be important. Every pitch has some meaning.
It's getting late.
It's getting late, and the games are dwindling down. Blue Jays are 5.5 behind the Yankees, tied with the Orioles, second in the East. (3-0). Of course, the Blue Jays and the Twins are tied with the Orioles for the second wild card spot.
Phil Hughes thought he delivered a strike right there. Good frame job right there by Suzuki, and some frustration on Phil Hughes. He thought he had a strike.
3-0 to Pilar. There's a strike. Bouncing ball to Plouffe. Throws high, and Pamauer makes the tag. And Tim Leeper, the first base coach, wants the bench to look at it. Tom Woodring, the first base umpire, indicating that Bauer had tagged Pilar before he got to the bag, and now DeMarlo Hale, who's the acting manager, with Gibbons serving the suspension, waiting on word whether or not to challenge this call. And it looks like they say he's out, so they will not challenge the call. And we will go to the fifth. Blue Jays have a 2-1 lead. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn.
The Blue Jays host the Yankees at 7:07. Pre-game festival outside Gate 10. Gates will open for you at 4:30. Enjoy a live performance by Monster Truck in the licensed area. Please call 416-341-1234 for more information, or as always, visit BlueJays.com.
It's always a great pre-game little festival before you come into Rogers Center. This is Aaron Hicks. It'll be 7-8-9 for the Twins here in the fifth. Hicks, Suzuki, and Nunez. Let's see if Marco Estrada can't recapture that command he had early in this ballgame. He kind of lost it after that single by Dozier in the fourth. There's a changeup. Bounce to first. Easy out for Encarnacion. This is what we talk about when you talk about a pitcher having to battle through ups and downs. Even you make adjustments in the course of an inning, course of a ball game, stretch of starts. You always have to make adjustments.
Didn't need to make any adjustments through the first 3 innings. He was popping his pitches and he was throwing them where he wanted to, and then it got hit on the foot. And we don't know if it had anything to do with a couple of walks last inning, but it took him a long time, and now got to regroup. And sometimes, like you were saying, making adjustments, sometimes you have to make an adjustment if you've got a little soreness in your feet after getting hit there.
Never really could see where that ball hit Estrada. Kurt Suzuki, the catcher, batting 8th. Tried out to Pilar in the third inning. Curveball. Boy, he's had a good curveball all night, that's for sure. That got him out of a jam in the fourth when he dropped that curveball in there to Eddie Rosario to strand a pair.
The honor wasn't lying when he says, I think he's got a really good curveball. He was really emphasizing, I think it can be a really good pitch for him. We can use it to get it over in the count. We can finish off at bats like he did against Rosario last inning.
Popped up and playable. Foul territory. Encarnacion is there, and Suzuki's retired. 2 outs here in the fifth. Eduardo Nunez will bat. Nunez is now 28 years old. He comes out of the Dominican Republic. He is a super utility player. He's a guy that can play short. And generally, if you got a guy that can play short, he can move around all over on the infield. He can handle third, second. He's also played 28 games in the outfield.
He had some bad luck, I thought, when he came up. He was going to be the heir apparent to you-know-who in New York. That might have put a little extra pressure on him. You mentioned he came up as a shortstop, and everybody thought that he was going to be the guy for Derek Jeter.
There's a fly ball to right. Bautista comes in a couple of steps, and that's a good bounce-back inning for Estrada. Took him just 9 pitches to retire the side in the 5th.
TD Tuesday and tag at Blue Jays for a chance to win. While over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse, we welcome guests from Future Possibilities for Kids. Welcome, everybody, and enjoy the game.
Welcome to the ballpark, and there's a bunch of kids there. They just recognize they're on TV, and you should wave to the camera. Welcome to the ballpark. Hope you're having a good night. Future Possibilities for Kids. Great opportunity to come out to the ballpark. Ben Revere looks at a first pitch curveball. It's down and in. Revere trying to get an average as a Blue Jay. Hasn't had a hit yet.
He drops a bunt down the third base line. That's going to be tough.
Pulls it on the ground. Dozier bobbles it, recovers in time to throw out Revere. Second time Revere has grounded out to Dozier tonight. Troy Tulowitzki homered in the 3rd. Tulowitzki played his first full season in the majors in 2007 with the Colorado Rockies. He was second in the Rookie of the Year voting to Ryan Braun of the Brewers. He's a 2-time Gold Glover and a 5-time All-Star. Came up late in 2006, cup of coffee, and then took over every day in 2007. Off the end of the bat. 2 up, 2 down here in the 5th. Couple of ground ball outs. Well, Josh Donaldson got things started for the Blue Jays with 1 out in the 1st.
This was a cutter from Phil Hughes. It was elevated, and that ball ended up over 450 feet away from home plate. Josh Donaldson, that's the 3rd time he's done that. Hit a ball over 450. It's his 28th home run of the season. Boy, he got extension on that inside cutter and extended through that baseball.
He can just hit. He is a student of hitting. Has tremendous discipline at the plate. He goes to the plate with a pretty good plan.
Yeah, he's got a plan and he doesn't deviate from it, stays right with it. Doing your homework.
Hughes continues to try to get that curveball in there for a strike. Hit hard, but right to the shortstop. Nunez has it. Long looping throw. 3 ground ball outs for Hughes. Just 7 pitches, and we'll go to the 6th. And here comes the Home Hardware cleanup crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products.
Anniversary of the 1985 AL East Division Championship. First 20,000 fans will receive the alumni bobblehead. That's Sunday, August 16th. The Blue Jays taking on the Yankees at 1:07 p.m. For more information, call 416-341-1234 or visit BlueJays.com.
Terrific trio of outfielders that bobblehead will feature. Going to take place on Sunday. Brian Dozier has the only hit for Minnesota. It was an infield hit off the foot of Marco Estrada in the 4th. He came around to score on the sac fly by Torrey Hunter. You need to retire this guy. He is the guy that makes things happen for Minnesota. Keep him off the bases.
Not your typical leadoff hitter, is he? He's a guy that's got some power and some extra base pop. 23 home runs. He's only hit 250. But he is a scary leadoff hitter for me.
He has tied Mike Trout with 76 runs scored for the league lead in that department. They are 1 ahead of Josh Donaldson, who has homered and scored his 75th run of the season tonight. 1-2.
They were playing Seattle the other day, and Iwakuma was shutting him out. He had something like 40-something straight shutout innings against him until he faced this guy right here, Dozier, in the 9th inning. He homered off of him to send that ball game into extra innings.
It was an unusual game in that it was scoreless into the 9th. Cruz hit a home run, and then Dozier answered in the bottom of the 9th. Then the game went to extra innings. It's the second game in Major League history that was scoreless through 8 into extra innings, tied up at 1-1. Last time it happened was way back in 1972. Dick Allen and Bob Oliver both hit home runs in that Kansas City White Sox game. Oh, what a good pitch. Marco strikes out Dozier for a second time. Well, the Blue Jays 10-6 since the All-Star break, and they have done it with many contributing factors. Much better defense. They've tightened up the pitching, and the hitting has been there. But look at what the pitching has done since the All-Star break.
We talk about the hitting and the defense. The pitching has been great. They're first in earned run average, first in opponent's batting average, and they're keeping the ball in the ballpark.
The Blue Jays pitchers have only allowed 13 home runs since the All-Star break. That's the second fewest home runs given up by an American League pitching staff. The Houston Astros have allowed just 12. Joe Mauer is 0 for 2 so far. Lines it to left. Revere is shaded in that direction. Makes the catch. 2 outs. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Chris Archer and Chris Sale, 2 of the young, prominent starting pitchers in all of baseball. Archer with a 251 earned run average. Chris Sale 329.
I don't think I want to be a batter today in Chicago. There might be a few offers there.
A few offers indeed. Archer has 3 strikeouts through an inning and 2/3. Sale has 4 through 2 innings. Says Trevor Plouffe. High fly ball. Bautista over near the seats. He'll just run out of room. He went into the slide to break his momentum, and that ball was just into the first row.
Not a lot of room down that right field corner over there. Jose plays it as well as anybody has in their career as a Blue Jay here. He knows when he can start that slide.
Ball and a strike to the Twins' third baseman. Pops this one back. We mentioned how well the Blue Jays starters have pitched since the break. The pitching staff overall has been great, but we're not giving Marco Estrada enough credit for what he's done. Marco Estrada was injured in spring training, had to start the season working out of the bullpen, didn't get his first start until the 5th of May. This ball is hit deep, but slicing into the seats out of play. When you look at Estrada's numbers across the board, he has been as impressive as any Blue Jay as far as the hits allowed. Coming into this game, the league's hitting .223 against him, and tonight he's allowed just 1 hit. There's another good curveball. And the one bugaboo that he had last year, the long ball, he's minimized the home runs dramatically here in the second half of the season.
What is he giving up? 1 home run in his last 6 starts? Last 5 starts.
One and two, 2 outs. Changeup. Donaldson gets a good hop. Marco Estrada. He's retired 8 straight. He's allowed just 1 run on 1 hit, and he's got a 2-1 lead. Bautista, Encarnacion, and Martin tried to build on that lead.
FA Cup, and more. Contact your television service provider to subscribe today. Visit sportsnet.ca/world for details. Buck.
Thank you very much, Hazel May. And it is the bottom of the 6th inning. Blue Jays have a 2-1 lead. It'll be Bautista, Encarnacion, and Russell Martin, the heart of the Blue Jays order. There's a curveball for a strike. Jose Bautista, coming into this game, has the best ratio of at-bats per home run against Minnesota among active players. He's averaged a home run every 8.15 at-bats. Coming into this game, 20 home runs and 163 at-bats.
I have a theory why that is. For years, Minnesota's pitchers, they've thrown a lot of strikes. They challenge you. They don't want to walk anybody. And for a lot of those years, they really haven't had a guy who just blows the ball by you. They pitch to contact. The contact from Jose has just been long ones. Just really haven't had that guy that just comes out and just blows the ball by and strikes everybody out. They keep the ball down, they sink it, they cut it, mix in a curveball, mix in a changeup. I mean, for years, all their pitchers looked the same.
Yeah, and they never walked anybody, and they would just come right at you. For Bautista, it's his best at-bat per home run ratio of any team. He has really enjoyed a lot of success hitting against Minnesota. Two, way outside.
Yeah, he makes the ballpark. Remember when we went there the first time? He made the ballpark target field look very small. Well, you want to know where those pitches were that he hit for a home run and what type of pitch they were? There they are. A lot of fastballs that are in the middle of the field, middle of the strike zone, in and up. But he has hit curveballs and changeups and cutters.
Oh, he just missed that one. Got underneath it and popped it into center field. Hicks is there. 1 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Troy Tulowitzki's home run in the 3rd, the difference in this ball game. Donaldson got it started. He homered in the 1st, Tulowitzki in the 3rd. The Twins answered with a sacrifice fly in the 4th, 2-1 Jays. Encarnacion, that's a fair ball. They were playing him to pull, and he got it by Plouffe. Here's the throw to second. It's a strong throw, but Dozier couldn't handle it. Encarnacion hustling out of the box, gets to second with a head-first slide. Rosario made a good throw.
He's got 5 outfield assists. He hasn't been here all season long. I thought he played the ball extremely well off that wall in left field. He had to deal with some fans who were reaching over. He had to deal with the ricochet off the wall down the left field line, and Encarnacion right over the bag and down the left field line. Now this thing is not gathering steam. It's slowing down, but Rosario throws a strike. But it's just dropped by Dozier. If he catches that ball, he's got a chance.
Yeah, he sure does. Russell Martin 0 for 2 is the DH tonight. Runs at a premium. Just 3 in the ballgame, only 5 hits. Blue Jays have 4 hits, 2 homers, and a double.
A couple of pitches right there for Russell. It's like he had something else on his mind.
Oh, 0-2, Hughes ahead. That cutter missed. Hughes has now thrown 95 pitches, and it's been a struggle for him at times tonight. The only inning he set down the side in order was the 5th. The changeup missed inside. It's 2-2.
He's thrown more changeups than I can remember in any start against the Blue Jays. It's been a good pitch for him.
Two and two, one out. Encarnacion with a double. He is at second. Edwin's been on base twice tonight. Russell gets a piece of that changeup. You're right. He is throwing more changeups tonight. Casey Fein and Ryan O'Rourke. O'Rourke pitched in the game last night. Yesterday afternoon, excuse me. Russell Martin trying to cash in Encarnacion from second. Drives this one high and deep to right. Torrey Hunter has room. Tagging at second is Encarnacion. He moves to third. Long fly ball to right. 2 outs. The Blue Jays are going to have to come up with a 2-out hit here. Yanner Navarro, the catcher, 0 for 2 so far with a fly out and a strikeout.
Yanner had a chance last time up with a runner at third base, less than 2 outs, and he didn't cash him in. And he's been a good RBI man for the Blue Jays. You know, that's got to be burning out his inside him right there, striking out with a runner at third base. Wants to pick him up this time.
Drives this one, that'll pick him up, get down and go all the way to the wall. Encarnacion is in to score. Navarro jumps on the first pitch and delivers a big hit with 2 outs.
You know, as a hitter, when you've got RBIs and you're known as an RBI guy, a clutch type of hitter, that situation is last time up, striking out with a runner at third base in less than 2 outs. That upsets you. You just want another chance. Yanner gets it with that fastball. It's right on his barrel, and he splits the outfielders. In right center field, comes up with a big hit, and that's going to send Paul Molitor to the mound and probably send Hughes out of the game.
Hughes has been lifted from this ball game. He will leave trailing 3-1. Navarro's his responsibility at second. Ryan O'Rourke, the lefty, faced Ryan Goins yesterday afternoon and struck him out. That's who he'll face here with 2 outs in the 6th.
A luxury suite at Rogers Center. Your single ticket includes hostess and food for only $150. Reserve your ticket before they're gone. Call 416-341-1635. Buck.
Thank you, Hazel. This is Ryan O'Rourke. He struck out Ryan Goins in the 8th inning to start the 8th. O'Rourke had a perfect 3-up, 3-down inning in that 8th. Ryan has a perfect night going. He has walked and had a bunt single.
Minnesota's got 3 lefties in that bullpen, so they can burn one of them right here. There are the numbers for O'Rourke in 11 games. Opponents hitting .088 against him this season. 11 career appearances. That's why he's a lefty specialist. You can see it all the way. He's got a good breaking ball. He's had 14 strikeouts and just 4 walks now.
11 innings of work. Lefty is just 3 for 24 against O'Rourke. Phil Hughes hasn't lost a game since June 8th. There's a base hit to center. Navarro is going to be stopped as that ball went right to him, and now Goins is taken off for second. He takes advantage. They can't make a play on him with the chance of Navarro coming in, so now there are 2 runners in scoring position. Goins, his second hit of the night.
Well, that's what you do right there. He stayed on that breaking ball nicely, hit that ball to center field, and he's just going to go. He's going to force them to cut that ball off. If they don't cut it off, he can move into scoring position himself. If they do cut it off, Navarro scores. Heads up base running.
Willie Rivera not wanting to send Navarro home. Hicks got to the ball very quickly, and now with O'Rourke in the game, they put Pilar on. So Ben Revere will bat. Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Big insurance run off the bat of Deanna Navarro, an RBI double with 2 outs.
It's almost like they are forcing the hand right here of DeMarlo Hale. Paul Molitor is going to walk to get to the left-hander, see if they bring in the right-handed batter. If they do, he's got the counter move with the right-hander. So I say just leave him in. Leave your best defensive player in there.
I think that's really what the Blue Jays have emphasized lately. The defense has become a priority. And now Revere will come to the plate. When you look at Revere's numbers this season, batting just .232 against lefties. But for his career, he is over .300 against lefty pitching. For Pilar, that's his first intentional walk of his young career. Loads the bases with 2 outs.
Good time for your first Blue Jay hit.
In the dirt, nice block by Suzuki. That's only the 5th intentional pass issued to the Blue Jays this season. There's too many good bats up and down the order to walk anybody.
Unless the situation calls for it. How about Trevor Booth, the third baseman, playing in on Revere? I don't think he's going to bunt here.
Revere doesn't strike out very often. He always has a knack for putting the bat on the ball. This one is fouled into the seats. This season, in 401 plate appearances, he has 36 strikeouts. So he'll put it in play.
You got to believe he's going to get a breaking ball at some point here. He's got a couple of fastballs to hit, and he's missed both of them.
2-2. Deanna Navarro with a RBI double with 2 outs. Goins had a single to center, and Pilar with the intentional walk. Fly ball, Torrey Hunter back quickly he gets there and makes the catch. The Blue Jays leave the bases loaded, but they get a big run in the 6th thanks to Deanna Navarro. Navarro driving in his 15th run with 2 outs. 3-1 Blue Jays. We head to the 7th.
Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Adam Jones and the O's head to Oakland to face Brett Laurie and the Athletics. That's tonight on Sportsnet Pacific. Buck, Blue Jays fans should be interested in this one.
Brett Laurie and Danny Valencia, who was just claimed by the Oakland Athletics. Miguel Gonzalez will start for the Orioles. Oakland 47-60, 13 games back. They have lost 7 of their last 10. Of course, the Blue Jays have their eye on the Orioles. Baltimore has won 8 of their last 10. They are tied, the Blue Jays and the Orioles, 5.5 games back of the Yankees.
How hot is Chris Davis? Boy, he hit another 3-run home run last night.
Ooh, he came out of nowhere, didn't he? He was just kind of pedestrian season together, and then he got hot, and now all of a sudden he's up there among the leaders. Coming into action tonight, Davis 75 RBIs. He also has 27 homers. He was tied with Donaldson. This is the cleanup hitter, 22-year-old Miguel Sano. He has lined out and walked. Boy, Marco Estrada, another outstanding outing. He had a little hiccup in the 4th. That is Mark Lowe. Lowe was acquired at the trade deadline period to fortify the bullpen. Sano was late, got beat on that pitch.
If you get him up, you might be wondering, well, why is Mark Lowe up with a 3-1 lead and Marco Estrada pitching well? You got to have a guy ready. It can happen so quickly. Those runners get on base or something happens, and you want that guy ready to go. Mark started throwing before this inning even started. Marco is up to 193 pitches.
He went around. No, said the first base umpire, Tom Woodring. Looked like he had taken a full cut.
Well, we can play umpire from this angle.
That's called a swing more often than not. The barrel of that bat went across the front of home plate. 2-2 pitch upstairs. He wouldn't chase. Full count. Boy, you're right, you know. As Estrada checks with the umpire to make sure it's a full count. Bloop and a blast, and Twins are right back.
You start thinking, okay, if this guy gets on, who do I want Torrey Hunter to face?
Foul tip off the glove of Navarro. He couldn't quite hold on to it.
It's a good pitch right there. Or if Sano makes it out, do you want Marco to face Hunter and then Rosario? I mean, those are all the scenarios that you're thinking about right now as you head into the 7th.
Fly ball. Bautista backs up a couple of steps. He's got plenty of room. Sano's retired. 1 down.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY expert sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Rogers Center with the roof closed. There are thunderstorms in the area. Torrey Hunter has the only RBI tonight. Had a sac fly in the 4th off of Marco Estrada. Goes after the first pitch. Tulowitzki. Plenty of time. 2 up, 2 down here in the 7th. Well, you're right how quickly things can change. And now Lowe has kind of slowed down out in left field in the bullpen. Had Sano reached, I guarantee you Lowe was pitching to Torrey Hunter. Hunter is 0 for 8 against Mark Lowe.
Yeah, and that's why Pete Walker is on the phone right there. Lowe to help if you need him in the 7th inning. I'm not out of it just yet. You can start mapping it now. Sanchez in the 8th and Osuna in the 9th, depending on the rest of the ball game. But you get them up and you get them ready because it happens so fast.
Yep. You have to be thinking ahead. And as dominant as Estrada has been, allowing just 1 hit tonight, he had that 4th inning that caused you some concern because it came out of nowhere. He'd retired the first 9 batters to start the game and then got into a jam after a couple of 1-out walks. Loaded the bases. So managers, they think ahead, a couple of innings ahead, say, okay, we get to the 6th, 7th, we got to keep an eye on Marco.
Well, they have a decision. You see them looking at their score sheets. They're looking, okay, what has Mark Lowe done against Hicks if he loses Rosario?
Lowe has not faced Hicks in an official at bat. Hicks is 0 for 0, so he's had a plate appearance against Lowe. Changeup hit hard. Bautista on the run. He's not going to get it. It's at the base of the wall. Bautista barehands it, throws to second, but not in time. Eddie Rosario hit one to the base of the wall in right, his 14th double, and it comes with 2 out. So now DeMarlo Hale pops out of the dugout, and they're going to give Aaron Hicks a new look. Hicks has grounded out twice against Estrada, and there's the call to the bullpen. Marco Estrada, another terrific outing for Marco. He continues to deal, especially here in this ballpark.
Call 1-888-ROGERS-1.
Marco Estrada gives way to Mark Lowe, who makes his second appearance since coming over from the Mariners. For the season, this will be his 36th game. Impressive numbers for Lowe.
Yeah, very impressive. 30 of those 35 outings have been scoreless for Lowe. His ERA 170, that's the 6th lowest among American League relievers. And right now, you mentioned that first one against Kansas City. He actually picked up the loss when he threw an inning, gave up 4 hits and 3 earned runs. He'd like to take care of that and get out of this inning.
There's a ball hit to left, and Revere has plenty of room. He's got a beat on it. Mark Lowe gets out of the 7th. He comes in and strands the inherited base runner. Gets the fly ball left. Marco Estrada in line for the win.
He's had his issues when it comes to catching R.A. Dickey. Martin says, yes, the pitch is just so unpredictable, but his biggest challenge is the mental side of things. It really takes a toll on him, and it seems to affect him on offense. He's hitting under 200 on the days he's catching Dickey, well below his season average. As for talk that Josh Thole could be called up for Dickey's next start this weekend, Martin said, quote, I'm all for it. Josh is a great teammate. He's great in the clubhouse, and above all, Buck, no one catches R.A. Dickey better than Josh Thole.
No one, Hazel, for sure. They were together in 2012 with the Mets when R.A. won the National League Cy Young Award. This is Casey Fiend making his 35th appearance.
Casey Fiend is really a setup guy for the Minnesota Twins. He's got 10 holds this season, 59 career holds, including a career high 26 last season. He just pounds that strike zone with that 2-seamer and 4-seamer. His best pitch is the cutter. And Blue Jays will see a lot of that here. Very competitive, very aggressive. There's the first cutter of the night.
Troy Tulowitzki 1 for 3 tonight. Home run in the 3rd. A 1-out homer that put the Jays up 2-0. Jays have scored single runs in the 1st, 3rd, and 6th. Twins got their run in the 4th. Torrey Hunter with a sacrifice fly. One of the phrases you're starting to hear around the Blue Jays lineup, pick your poison. Who do you want to deal with? There aren't many soft spots in the Blue Jays lineup. Tulowitzki drills it down the left field line. Just foul. Luis Rivera wants the Blue Jays to look at it. He ran out quickly to the 3rd base foul line to get a real good look at it. And he turned immediately into the dugout and said, let's have a look. Tim Timmons said, no, it was close. But I bet you the Blue Jays are going to have a look at this one. The possibility of a leadoff double in a 3-1 game. There's Timmons. You can't fault his positioning. Boy, I tell you what, that's why we missed the old one chalk.
Yeah, you need the chalk right there, because that's what would like jump up on a ball down the line like that. Now all you see are those little black little rubber things inside the AstroTurf that comes up.
Yeah, years ago, even on grass fields, they would have chalk, and this ball would hit there, and the chalk would be kicked in the air. And obviously, if it hits the chalk, it's a fair ball. But we're going to have another look at this one, and this is where you need that tennis laser.
I'll take the chalk. The chalk and the dirt, right?
Yeah.
I think he got it right.
It looked like it missed the foul line by inches.
You know, off
maybe
the bat,
a half an inch. Yeah.
Off the bat, it looked like it was a sure double, but this one right here looks like it was just foul. I think he got it right.
You can't argue with Tim Timmons in his positioning. I mean, that's textbook right there. He turned and got himself stationary. He's camped out on the foul line, and he called it foul. Tulowitzki leading off here in the bottom of the 7th.
See, back in the day, if you saw any white dust, chalk jump up, you know, it was an easy call. That time you just don't know, because you saw the black rubberized stuff jump up after that ball hit the turf.
Well, they have their decision, and they're going to say it's a foul ball. Tim Welke, the home plate umpire, is the crew chief. Timmons at third. He was the umpire that made the call, so the crew chief will go to the review with the umpire that made the call. So it's a foul ball. The count remains 2-2.
Now as a hitter, you got to regroup. Thought you had yourself a double down the left field line. Now you got to regroup.
The Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead as they bat in the bottom of the 7th. And we point out to just 3 runs. The Blue Jays for the season are 4-37 when they score 3 runs or less. Tulowitzki drives this one in the air to right. The veteran Torrey Hunter is there, and Tulowitzki's retired. Now it's time for the drive of the game. It's brought to you by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Josh Donaldson's going to get it again in the first inning. Lift off on this high cutter on the inner half against Phil Hughes. It's going to be a home run number 28 for Josh Donaldson to left field for drive of the game. Got that one out of the way early tonight. Donaldson with the home run and extended his hitting streak against Minnesota.
22 straight games Donaldson has had a hit against the Twins. He has hit in every game he has played against the Twins except his first 2 games. He went 0 for 1 on September 19, 2010 in his first at bat, and then 0 for 3 May 30th, 2012. And then has hits in 22 straight. Donaldson's home run was his 26th as a third baseman. 28th overall. 2 came while DHing. Reaches for that curveball, and it squirts into foul ground.
Blue Jay team record is way up there, isn't it?
41
by Tony Batista.
In 2000, Tony Batista hit 41 home runs as the Blue Jays' third baseman. Troy Glaus had 33 home runs in 2006 playing third. Donaldson is within striking distance of Ed Sprague and Kelly Gruber. They both hit 31. Gruber in 1990, Sprague in 96. Third base has been a good position for the Blue Jays. He tried to check one around, and Donaldson strikes out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Tanaka goes 6 innings. He is out of the ball game. Justin Wilson, the left-hander, is into the game. Henry Owens, in his Red Sox debut, went 5 innings, charged with 3 earned runs on 5 hits. Jose Bautista's gone 0 for 3 tonight. Pops this one up. Trevor Plouffe, the third baseman over near the Blue Jays dugout, will overrun it. Plouffe had a long run, full head of steam, got to where he thought the ball was going to come down, and it was behind him. Just overran it.
Yeah, you got your eye on the ball, then you take your eye off the ball to find out where you are on the field, where you're going to run into that dugout, and then when you go look back up for the ball, it's gone. Watch him. He's looking up. He looked real briefly to see where he was on the field and then couldn't pick the ball back up.
Bautista off the end of the bat. This is going to drop for a hit. Torrey Hunter, the right fielder, will play it on a couple of hops. Bautista takes advantage of the misplay by Plouffe and drops a 2-out single to right.
Nobody's happier than that batter when a defender, a short out, overruns it. He gets another crack at that pitcher. This time, Jose's going to take advantage of it. That cutter away, hits it right off the end of the bat and drops it into right field.
You go from an 0 for 4 to a 1 for 4 because they couldn't make the play on the foul pop. Edwin Encarnacion is 1 for 2 with a walk, and he scored a run. He had a hustle double in the 6th and came in to score on Deoner Navarro's 2-out double. High fly ball, but Hicks has room. Center fielder over in the alley makes the catch. The Blue Jays get a 2-out single but leave a base runner. We'll head to the 8th. The Jays have a 3-1 lead. Aaron Sanchez coming out of the bullpen.
Series beginning Friday, August 28th at 7:07 p.m. For tickets, call 416-341-1234 or visit BlueJays.com.
If you build it, they will come. Thanks, AA. And you're right about that. Blue Jays had their 6th sellout of the season yesterday in David Price's Blue Jays debut, 45,766. Aaron Sanchez into the game.
Here he is, 16 games this year. He's now going to take over the 8th inning role for the Blue Jays for the rest of the season. There are his numbers this year. He has pitched really well coming out of the bullpen. He just buries that fastball in on the right-handers.
This is the catcher and number 8 hitter, Kurt Suzuki. Sanchez, in case you haven't heard, has been given a 3-game suspension because of the incident Sunday against Kansas City. Sanchez hit Alcides Escobar in the 8th inning on a 2-0 pitch. Hit him down on the right leg. Jim Wolf threw him out of the game, and there was a warning in place. Sanchez was notified today he was given a 3-game suspension. He has appealed that ruling. Bouncing ball. Tulowitzki has to wait on the big hop. Offline, and Suzuki avoids the tag, but Encarnacion is able to stay with him and tag him out. 1 down.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Troy Tulowitzki's throw was offline, but Encarnacion came off the bag and put the tag on Kurt Suzuki.
Got underneath that throw, and then Encarnacion comes off the bag. I like for him to just go right to the bag and just tag the bag. When Suzuki was messing around like that, I wouldn't even risk whiffing on that tag.
Yeah, just step on the bag. He'd be out. That's like the old cowboy movies when the 2 gunslingers would square off. One guy have a knife, the other guy have a gun, and the knife guy's going like this, and the guy just pulls out his gun.
No need to mess around.
No need to go tag him. Nunez stays alive with a foul tip, and now the tag. It wasn't a foul tip. The way that Welke waved his hand safe looked like he may have indicated a foul ball, but he swings right through this pitch.
Watch the movement on this thing. It's diving down underneath the bat, and you can see from that replay, that slow-mo replay, that he missed it. That's a sinker.
That is a high sinker that's got so much movement he couldn't even put the bat on the ball. Brian Dozier, leadoff man, takes a strike. Well, Sanchez has really flourished back in that bullpen role. I mean, he is firing strikes. Line to Goins. Sanchez, 9 pitches, 3 up, 3 down in the 8th. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. The Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zorn.
much more. MLB.tv Premium includes a free at-bat 15 subscription. Watch baseball at home, at the office, or on the go. Season-long subscription packages are available. Just visit BlueJays.com for more details.
New pitcher into the game is Kevin Jepsen. The Blue Jays saw him earlier in the season with the Tampa Bay Rays. The Twins picked him up at the trade deadline, July 31st. He was acquired in a trade with Tampa Bay.
Got a couple of minor leaguers for him. Jepsen's got a good arm. Lightning quick, 2 and 4 seam sinker and a 4-seamer, a big curveball. He was signed by the Angels. As that ball's fouled down. You know who signed him? The scout, Todd Blyleven, Bert's son.
Yeah. He was in Reno in high school, and he was a draft pick of the Angels, and Todd Blyleven was scout. Jepsen was the Nevada Gatorade State Pitcher of the Year as a senior. He was 9-1. I was kind of surprised the Angels didn't keep him. Last year he had a good year. 74 games with the Angels, had a .263 earned run average, allowed just 45 hits in 65 innings.
Surprised Tampa didn't keep him either.
Russell Martin, a nice play by Dozier. He throws to first, and Martin is robbed of a base hit. Hit it hard. Good play by the second baseman.
He's an all-star. He can do it all. He's a good player. Dozier came up as a shortstop. They put him over at second base. Now he's got some power. Look where he is starting from. And then the range on this one hopper, snares it, and then calmly throws over to first base to get the out.
On this turf, that ball is slowed down when it hits the turf. In the past, that ball had skipped through center, and infielder wouldn't have a chance on it. But that's how this turf has changed the game here at Rangers Center. Much slower surface. Janet Navarro had a big hit back in the 6th, a 2-out RBI double. He had a great opportunity to cash in a runner from third into fourth with 1 out and struck out. Oh, 2. Navarro did a terrific job once again with Marco Estrada. Estrada and Navarro have really clicked since they have worked together. Marco 6 2/3 of 2-hit ball. So the bounce foul. And you know what? It's not a knock on Russell Martin. Sometimes pitchers and catchers just click. Go all the way back to Steve Carlton and Tim McCarver.
That's right. That's right. It just happens. Navarro was clicking with Mark Burley last year.
Yeah. Certain guys, you just have a nice feel about it. David Price and Russell Martin yesterday, they were on the same page all day long. Navarro strikes out, 2 up, 2 down for Jepsen here in the 8th.
Jepsen's got good stuff. He made his major league debut in 2008 when he was a member of the Los Angeles Angels. His first game, his debut, he had to face the Yankees. Jeter, Bobby Abreu, and A-Rod got them all. 1, 2, 3. How's that for a major league debut?
Give you a lot of confidence for sure. This batter's got a lot of confidence right now. Ryan Goins has walked, had a bunt single, and singled to center. His single to center came off a left-hander, Ryan O'Rourke. Goins average now at 235. Creeping up there.
Getting some playing time, some regular playing time. He's putting his work in and feeling a little bit better about himself.
Roberto Osuna, a young closer for the Blue Jays, loosening up. Osuna 7 for 8 in save opportunities this season. Nothing doing for Jepson on that low pitch, as Owens has seen the ball well all night. There's a strike that evens the count at 2-2. Ball 3. The Twins have managed just 2 runs on 5 hits in the first 2 games of this series, and that's been a familiar theme for Paul Molitor's Twins since the All-Star break.
And one of those ruts right now. They're just not bunching their hits together. Torrey Hunter's had a good series.
He has both RBIs, had a home run yesterday and a sac fly tonight. Full count, 2 outs. Owens chases a bad pitch and strikes out Jepson. 3 up, 3 down in the 8th. We will go to the 9th. The Blue Jays trying to win one with just 3 runs. Roberto Osuna will come out. Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Bauer, Plouffe, and Sano, tough hitters for Osuna.
Strain, Sunday at 10 Eastern, only on FX.
New pitcher is the closer, Roberto Osuna. As we mentioned, he's 7 for 8 save opportunities, and he has presented a save opportunity here in the 9th.
Averaging a strikeout an inning. He's only had 11 walks all season long. 53 strikeouts. That's in the top 10 for American League relievers. 227 earned run average. This is Roberto's 46th game of the season. He's got a tough assignment. The best hitters for Minnesota coming up.
It's a 2-run ball game. With that, Justin Smoke has come off the bench to play defensively at first in place of Edwin Encarnacion. Joe Mauer 0 for 3. He has lined out twice to left and struck out. Osuna, 20 years old. Pitches like he's 30. He doesn't have a rattle factor.
Yeah, you watch him on the field and the things he does in game, you know, little things that show you that he's been around this game of baseball his whole life and he understands it.
popped up. Donaldson over near the seats. He's got room. Bauer's retired, 1 down. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you very much, Ken. And that Ken, he can really smack the golf ball. I watched him the other day, and he's got a nice little game. This is Trevor Plouffe, the third baseman. He cuts on the first pitch. You know, I knew we had something special in Osuna when I saw him record his first big league strikeout at Yankee Stadium. He struck out Alex Rodriguez, caught the ball back from the catcher, called timeout, and threw the ball out of play. This is off the end of the bat. Revere over. Pilar gets there and makes the catch as Revere peels out of the way. 2 up, 2 down.
You know, that's what we were talking about, that he's very aware. He understands the game of baseball. You know, something like that, or you know, there's a runner on second base and there's a ground ball to the first baseman. He goes over and catches the ball on the 3-1. He has the wherewithal to turn around and make sure where that runner is. You know, little things like that within the game that you see.
Blue Jays bullpen again, retiring 6 straight. Miguel Sano. The bullpen has really stepped it up lately. Mark Lowe came in and needed 2 pitches to close out the 7th. Sanchez threw 9 pitches, 3 up, 3 down in the 8th. Osuna has thrown 6 pitches so far. That's how you get it done as a bullpen.
Yeah. Last night, LaTroy Hawkins came in after Price went 8 innings. He had a 3 up, 3 down inning. The bullpen tonight, they've only given up 1 hit.
2 and 1, 2 outs.
You know what, Buck? I take that back. That last hit was against Marco Estrada. The bullpen hasn't given up a hit tonight.
We mentioned the Blue Jays when they scored 3 runs or less this season, 4 and 37. That's about the change.
Not a bad idea right there. We've seen Diana Navarro use that elevated fastball a lot tonight, especially when Marco Estrada was in there. That time he went with Osuna, he just didn't get it up high enough.
Full count, 2 outs. Torrey Hunter is on deck. He has the only 2 RBIs for the Twins in the first 2 games. A 2-out walk. Torrey Hunter homered yesterday, had a sac fly tonight. Is responsible for the only 2 runs the Twins have scored.
You can see Justin Smoke trying to get the attention of the pitcher, saying, hey, that run over there doesn't mean anything. That is a pinch runner.
Eduardo Escobar, the shortstop, has taken over at first as a pinch runner for Sano. Torrey Hunter is 0 for 2 with that sac fly. That late movement took the ball to the end of the bat.
tying run at the plate now in Hunter, and he definitely has extra base power in that bat he homered yesterday.
15 doubles, 17 homers for Hunter.
So you see Josh Donaldson on the line at third base.
Popped in the air to right. Bautista calls for it. Pilar peels out of the way. Ball game. Save number 8 for Osuna. The bullpen does it again. Marco Estrada with a terrific outing tonight.
Marco pitches into the 7th inning. He gives up 2 hits, a run. The bullpen, he turns it over to the bullpen. They don't give up a hit in their 2 1/3 innings. And then the power for the Blue Jays. Tulowitzki, Donaldson, and then the clutch hit by Navarro. That's all it took for the Blue Jays to win tonight.
Marco Estrada improves to 9-6, drops his ERA to 3.40. Home runs again, the difference in the ball game. Great job by Navarro behind the plate and at the plate. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Blue Jays Central. Lots more coming up. Here's Greg and Zonnie.